Hi, welcome, welcome. Come on in, please. Take a seat, make yourself comfortable. How are you doing today? Good, good. Well, yeah, the semester's kind of in full swing at this point. So I'm glad you were able to come in. My office hours, by the way, are always at this time, twice a week, and you don't need to make an appointment. You can just drop in, but if you want some like one-on-one time and make sure, I'm prepared, it is nice to just kind of send me an email beforehand like you did, so thank you for doing that. Yeah, of course. So I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a bit challenging to have missed some time in the semester in the first weeks and try to be catching up. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to do our best to make you feel comfortable and confident at the end of our meeting here today. Yeah, so, in the first week, we really just went over the syllabus and we started to prepare a little bit for the class. With this class, we kind of have to jump in right away. So, again, really good of you to come in. So, I would like first just to get to know you a little bit. So, could you tell me about yourself and tell me about your major, your concentration, a little bit about your experience in education, if you have any experience, and if you have any experience working with students with disabilities, if you could tell me about that. And it's okay if you don't. I would just like to kind of get a feel for where my students are in their progression, because some people have taken other education classes before, have some teaching experience. So please just kind of tell me where you're at. And if you don't mind, I would just write this down. Okay. And do you have a concentration besides that? That was over the summer? And how did you enjoy that? Well, it's really good that you have that experience. I think that's going to help you a lot. We're going to kind of get into that a little bit today in your practicum this semester. So, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And yeah, a little bit about myself. So I'm Professor Ray, but you can just call me Ray. No need to be so formal. And yeah, so I am one of the main professors here in the art education department, actually. And I have my own art practice as well. I love making art. I'm a printmaker myself, but I also dabble in photography and digital arts and sculpture. So, yeah. Anyways, but so that's a little bit about me. Let's just jump right in and start talking about the syllabus. So I kind of want to talk about grading, some policies. We don't have to go over everything because a lot of the syllabus is kind of general and applicable to all the classes. Stuff about plagiarism and computer assistance and all that stuff. So you can read that on your own time, and I recommend you do so. But in the meantime, we're just going to go over kind of what's specific to this class, and then hopefully you can kind of get out of here, get to work. I assume you have some stuff to work on. So this class is kind of split up into 4 parts. So the first part is really based on theory, and we're going to be using a textbook, and I'll show you what textbook you need to acquire for this class. it shouldn't be too expensive. It's a small textbook. If you do have financial hardship, we have a class copy. It can't leave the classroom, but you can come in at any time, and the door code is on the syllabus. Yeah, and you can read that classroom copy, but it's not too expensive in the campus bookstore if you want your own copy. Let me just go ahead and show you it now. So I do recommend you get the physical copy. I mean, actually you can get the digital too and print these off. Just getting your own copy would be a good idea because, so this is the book you're gonna need to get. It's called Differentiated Instruction in Art. And it goes over what differentiated instruction is, but broadly it's about teaching art to students of differing abilities, so including students who with and without disability, and we're going to even talk about what that means, or how you can define disability. But students with differing abilities, differing interests, and different types of intelligence, basically. And so it's a lot of theory, to be honest, but there is actually a lot of tangible and practical advice in here. And as well as this is why I'm recommending you get your own copy, is there are worksheets and graphic organizers in the appendix. What's my learning style? So, different organizers that you can use for yourself during the lesson planning process, but also that you can photocopy and give out to your students. And obviously the book is going to go over more the why and the how, but this is kind of the what. And so anyways, you'll need to get that book for the readings anyway, but you'll need to do the readings anyway, whether it's the class copy, an online copy, or one from the bookstore. So yeah, you're gonna need differentiated instruction in art, and yeah, I think it's about $30 in the store, so obviously not the cheapest in the world, but I think this will be a good resource for you going forward once you are actually in service teacher. So the first part of the class is going to kind of cover that textbook. You're going to be writing these reflection journals that connect course concepts, so just connect the readings and reflect on the readings, and these journals are 15% of your grade. So we're jumping right in because starting a little bit later this month, the practicum begins, and you'll actually be teaching to real students. And so this class does mainly focus on students with disabilities. So you'll be working with a group, with a nonprofit that teaches students with disabilities, and the practicum is 20% of your grade. So, and when you signed up, when you registered for the class, I don't know if you remember, but there was a course contract that said you would be available at one of the 4 times. So now that you're kind of signing up a bit late, we only have 2 times left. And that is Monday from 10:30 to noon, or Tuesday from 9 to 10:30. Now this only is 4 times a semester, and sorry, did I just say 4? 5? I don't know if I said 4 or 5. It's 5 times a semester. Yeah. And so if you sign up for the Monday one, you will be the first person to go. That's just how we have it set up, and don't be nervous. I will be grading, so I will be there observing how you do, but I will be grading more leniently for the first student because obviously you haven't done it before, you had the least time to prepare, and especially you starting a bit late and going earlier, I'll be lenient in my grading. Of course, I will give you feedback so you can improve. However, the grade will be more fair to you, I think. So, are you able to do either of those times? Okay. Okay. So yeah, studio class is hard to miss. And what did you say you have on Mondays? Okay. Well, who do you have for that? The professor. Okay. And it's the lab at that time? Okay. So, I recommend you speak with him. And see if you can skip the lab 5 times. I know that he was able to do that with a student last semester, and that was how they were able to work it out. However, I do have a student who dropped my class this semester because of this a very similar scheduling conflict. So, that does need to be worked out because the practicum is a large component. It's 20% of the class. Well, it adds up really to be 30% of the class. And to be honest, so the grade you get adds up to be 30% of the class once we factor in the reflection writings that you have to do. But if you don't do the practicum, in fact, if you even miss one, you have to fail the class. And I'm sorry, I know that sounds strict. It's just like if you're not completing the practicum, that is like the main component of this class. And also, to get your license, we need to ensure that you are getting the right amount of service hours. And if you're missing the service hours, we can't ensure that. So, I will work with you on this. Unfortunately, those are the only times we have available. So please speak with him and see if you can attend my class during those times. And if you need, I can sit in on those conversations. You can CC me on an email and we can get this worked out. Okay. Great. So the practicum really takes up the second portion of class. That's kind of like the part 2. The third part is a reflective art project. So it's art, sustainability, and community. And you will be making your own art that reflects upon a certain topic that is dear to you, as well as your own pedagogy. And we'll get into more, like, if you're like, what does that mean? No worries. We'll get into more of what that means, but that's kind of like a couple months down the line. So that's the third part of the semester, so you needn't really worry. And that's going to be after the break anyway, so yeah, but it's a good opportunity because it gives you guys a chance to make your own art. And yeah. So, and then the final part, the part 4, is the final reflection. And again, we'll go over that, but that is either in the form of a paper or a project. We used to do, I might bring it back this semester actually because I have fewer students, but we used to do a one-on-one discussion / interview, kind of like an oral exam, but more just a conversation. And I stopped doing that because I just had too many students. But this semester, I actually have fewer students, so we might be doing that. But again, you needn't really worry about that right now. That's the final project. So this class is split into 4 sections like that. The final reflection is 30% of your grade. Yeah, and then attendance accounts for 10%. So what it breaks down to is 10% for your, so 15% for the journals, the textbook reflections, 20% for the practicum, 10% for the practicum written reflections, 15% for the reflective art project, 30% for the final reflection project, and then 10% for attendance. And that's attendance of the lecture portion. Obviously, like I said, the attendance for the practicum is 100% mandatory. That's pass-fail. Okay. So, yeah, that really covers what we talked about. Do you have questions? Yes, the policies, right. I did say I was going to go over that. So, in terms of late work and stuff like that, like, I'm here to focus on your learning, and I want you to just learn. So that being said, as long as you're communicating with me, there shouldn't be a problem with like late work and stuff. The textbook reflections are the only thing I'm pretty strict about late work, just because we discuss them in class and it's such a small class that if someone hasn't done the readings, then they're not able to contribute really. So you can turn those in for partial credit, but yeah, but anything else, this is my policy. What I want you to do is if something is not due by the deadline, I want you to turn in what you have, and I will give you an in progress grade, like a partial credit, and then you turn it in once it's done, you notify me, and then I will modify your grade. So yeah, because if you don't turn it in as a partial credit, you're just gonna get a 0, and I don't want to give zeros. So it's better to turn in something, an outline or half a draft, or even just a topic, a thesis, whatever. Yeah, so that's kind of my late policy. Like, yeah, just communicate with me and we can make things work. Same with attendance. Like, if you're gonna miss class, we can work on ways on making it up. There's plenty of volunteer hours that you can complete outside of class that can make up for a missed day. And if you have extenuating circumstances, like, someone in the family is sick, or if you're sick or whatever, again, I can work with you. So don't be afraid to reach out via email, office hours, or send me a message through the system, basically. What else in terms of policy? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So you're going to need to get started on your lesson planning for if you end up doing the first one, because like you said, you can't do Tuesday. We're going to talk to your other professor about Monday. If you do the Monday, you are presenting in 2 weeks. So you need to get a lesson plan in this week. And yes, I can help you with that. So we've been kind of going over some requirements for that lesson plan in class. However, that's pretty much all we're going to be working on in class, besides some textbook discussion. So I would say don't worry about it. Let's get started next class period. And then if you're still confused after I go over it in class, we can meet up again and I can help you draft your lesson plan. Yeah. Okay, good. But just start brainstorming some lesson ideas. Yeah. It can be any. We have a kiln, we have a press, we have, we have lots of materials. So yeah, well, it was so great to meet you. Please email me if you have any more questions, anything, any assignments that are confusing or anything like that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in class tomorrow. Okay. Oh, not tomorrow. Yeah. Looking forward to, yeah. Okay. Okay, take care. Bye.